I'm going to show you guys how I got from doing 70 deals in my very first year of wholesaling real estate to netting negative $931,868 this last year. All right, so I'm going to dive into everything. I'm going to dive into the amount of deals that we did per year, the amount of revenue we did, gross profit, expenses, and net profit at the end of the day. And we're going to see how we got to this number and the journey that it took to get there, because it's been really, really interesting. And when you dive into real estate wholesaling, it's a really, really interesting learning curve. And I started in a very unique way. I started real estate wholesaling in April of 2021. So in April 2021, I was on TikTok like any good millennial is, and I heard about this guy who said, hey, get started into real estate with no credit and no cash. Wife, and I was like, babe, you should try this. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, I'll just do it myself. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, then I'll just do it. And being a serial entrepreneur, I just dove into it. I joined some Discords, I figured it out. And then I went to my mom and I said, hey, mom, I want to get started into real estate wholesaling. And she was like, that's what I do, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And she says, I work for a hedge fund and we work with wholesalers. And so she's like, this is what I do. I go on Zillow for sale by owner and I try to negotiate with these people to buy their properties. Why don't you guys do that? So I got with me and my friends. And so I said, hey guys, I've got the secret sauce. I'm going to go on Zillow for sale by owner. That's what I want you guys to actually do. I've got the connection. And so with that, we're going to do this together and I'm going to split the revenue 50-50 with them. So I said, hey friends, you guys are awesome. I'm going to split the revenue 50-50 with you all. This was a big mistake because I ended up losing a lot of money that year, but I ended up learning a ton. We did about 500,000. I actually think it's 600,000, but we did about $510,376 in revenue. We ended up grossing about $330,499 that year. And then our expenses ended up being $228,288, which then netted us at the end of the year $102,000, 2,211, which then was able to take as profits. And so that was what we ended up with that first year. That was a huge learning curve. We actually did 70 deals in our first 6 months. So between April and November, we did 70 deals, which was crazy. But then at that point, we were just sending to hedge funds. I didn't know how to wholesale real estate. I didn't know how to find a buyer's list. I didn't actually even know how to find motivated sellers. And so all we knew was Zillow for sale by owner, straight to the hedge funds. And we had about 3 different hedge funds that we went to and we sold to. So we did 70 deals in 6 months to them. Now, because we were doing this at scale, this only ended up being about $7,200 per deal. $7,200 per deal is what we were getting at that point because we were just doing it at scale. Didn't really matter. But then at the end of November, hedge funds stopped buying, completely stopped buying. So then from November 2021 to February 2022, we only did 4 deals. So it absolutely jumped off the table. In 2022, this was a huge learning journey for me. We only did 7 deals that year. So completely dropped off the table. Well, we only did 10% of the deals we did the year before because what I had to do was this sucked. I actually had to lay off all of my staff, all of my VAs. We had to move out of the office that we had. We had to really shut down everything. And then it was just me, 1 or 2 other VAs, and I dove in. Now, the great thing is I was in a mastermind called Collective Genius at the time. And through that, I was able to dive into the learning and the teaching from some of the top operators in the whole entire country. So I spent literally from probably January to probably like June, just straight building SOPs, head down, learning the process, learning as much as I possibly could, closing a couple deals here and there, and building SOPs. And so this is when I actually learned about foreclosures from a guy named Michael Frankie. So he was in the mastermind with me. Him and I were in the same small group when he presented for the very first time what he was doing with foreclosures. He actually beat me with our CG belt that day, which it's okay because he's the GOAT. But I went from there. Me and my partners were like, this is it. It's foreclosures. We got to dive into this. And so we spent the next 3 months. So between probably June to August, I spent the next 3 months building out all of the systems and processes for foreclosures in our city and our state. So we ended up ending off this year with $236,000 in revenue, $236,734. with our gross of 151,359, with then our expenses of 198,421.73, which then ended up giving us a net profit of negative 47,061.98. One of the biggest things that I learned through this time is how hard it is to actually wholesale real estate. During this time, I thought it was really easy. I thought it was something simple that I could do. I thought it was something that I would just be able to dive into and be able to do because of how simple this looked. But then during this time in 2022, I had to restructure. I had to rebuild. I had to learn SMS, text messaging. And one of the biggest things that I learned was how important it is to have a good sales process, because I was actually spending money between January and June, spending money on cold callers, texters. But then what I realized was they couldn't close deals, and then I was going to have to close those deals. And then I thought to myself, how the heck am I going to close these deals? And so then I started learning from guys like Steve Trang, Ren Bartlett. And then even during this time, I started learning from, actually maybe more a little in 2023, from like Eric Klein on what a good sales process was, so that we could actually start closing some of these deals. So that was probably most important, because it doesn't matter how many of the processes you have in line. It doesn't matter how many of the systems you have. If you can't actually close deals, then it's not going to matter. So one of the important things that you could do when you're first starting out, of course, building out your processes, building out your systems, but then also dialing in on a sales process. That is going to be huge. You can guys check out Steve Trang, tell him I sent you. He's a good friend, and he can actually help you to dial in those sales processes. He's one of the absolute goats. So now with a full system of foreclosures, we decided, all right, let's dive into 2023. That's when we started actually figuring out how to wholesale real estate, how to get these foreclosures, how to really dive into them. Doing $236,734 actually made our average price per deal $33K. So $33K was our average price per deal in 2022, which is fantastic. Felt really good to be able to do that, have that. But also we still took a huge loss, because the first half of the year, I spent a ton on marketing, spent a ton learning, spent a ton trying to grow, spent a ton still in like our mastermind, but didn't make that money back up that year. So the next year in 2023, we did about 18 deals. 2023 was a big year for us in learning this business, learning foreclosures, learning every single aspect of foreclosures, and honestly honing in that process here. So these are actually all foreclosures. So we did 18 foreclosure deals this year, and that generated $500,074.18. From there, we grossed about $357,133. Our expenses were at around $257,359, which then netted us around $100,000 even. We net profit $100,000, 052 that year. And this was fantastic. During this year, what ended up happening for us is I realized the importance of capital. So I started raising a ton of capital during this time. We bought our first rental. I remember our very first rental out of foreclosure. We flipped it, which was ended up being a mistake, but we flipped it and then we held it as a rental. And that was in May 2023. So then I realized, okay, it's really important for us to actually hold properties. And then also it's very important for us to start to raise capital. So during this time in July 2023, I decided, okay, I would like to learn how to start a fund, raise capital. And so we started our fund, PF Capital, in July of 2023. We registered with the SEC. We got an SEC attorney. I began raising a ton of capital to be able to purchase more of these properties. Because one of the things I realized was, honestly, private lenders are easier than hard money lenders. It is more convenient, but it also becomes really inconvenient when I'm like, hey, we've got a foreclosure coming up this weekend. I need you to wire in this money. And then they're out on vacation and they're like, I can't do it. And I'm like, hey, can you go to the bank on your vacation? Super inconvenient. So I said, what if I started this fund? And then during this fund, what happens is you leave that money with us for a year minimum. We give you a return, and then we also set it up so they get a preferred return and profit splits. So we started that this year here in almost 16 months ago here, and with the intention of being able to fund a ton more of our foreclosures, but then also fund a lot of the properties that we end up buying, either by flipping them, renovating them. So we started flipping during this time, which was crazy, honestly. And honestly, I hate flipping. I'll probably never flip again because I don't really care to flip, but we will build. I like building, enjoy building a little bit more. I think that's going to be a really good play for us down the road. But for the most part, continue to wholesale, continue to not flip, and then hold capital. So then we raised about between here and over the next 8 months of the fund, we raised 2 million in the fund to fund our purchasing properties, fund a little bit of the operations, and for us to continue to push forward in a really strong rate. So then here in 2024, we ended up doing 32 wholesale deals, and then we held 27 properties. So we currently hold 27 properties during this time. So we did a bunch of wholesale deals. We sold some of our flips, and we did 27 properties. This actually gave us, so now this changes because we're able to leverage this $2 million that we had to purchase this property. As we generated wholesale deals and as we started to flip properties and sell those properties, this generated $6,172,211 of top line revenue. So we went from highest we've done is 500K to doing 6 million in 2024. And then from there, we grossed. So this is the big difference here. Because of this, so this 6 million was from sales, 6 million was sales of properties, wholesale deals, all those things. What ended up happening was we had a lot of money that went into flipping. So then we ended up grossing. So this is the big difference here, right? We ended up grossing $238,686 from this. So that was what we ended up grossing from that. Our expenses were $1,164,013. So that was our expenses this past year, $164,013. And then what ended up happening is now we are actually profiting. Our net profit this year is negative $931,868. But I was telling you, we have all these properties. The value of these properties is actually $11,025,025. So that's the ARV of these properties. If we were to flip all of these properties that we're holding here, this would be the actual value of all of these properties. Now, let's go ahead and break that down a little bit more. So let's say we were to sell all of these properties, we actually would get back about $4,081,105, which then would end up profiting us from our portfolio $3,032,440. So it looks like we finished the year with this, but then we accumulated a portfolio that without even the depreciation, not even talking through some of the depreciation of what we're holding on this, if we were to sell that portfolio, we were able to leverage this 2 million to buy 11 million worth of property that then if we sold all of that would profit us $3,032,440. So that's the goal right here. We went from wholesaling 70 deals, not knowing what the heck we were doing, to now buying 27 properties that we are currently holding, in the process of selling some of them. And so our line looks like this. It looks like, hey, this was really great. I really enjoyed this. Boom, goes way down here, builds it up a little bit, builds it up a lot more. And then what is going to happen in 2025? Taking us all the way up to the ceiling. As we start to sell some of these properties, we're looking to sell about 15 to 18 of these properties to inject about 1.6 million in capital for us, that then will end up paying off a lot of our investors, giving them what they want, and then allowing us to reinvest that back into more properties, invest that into marketing. Because during this year right here, 2024, I spent $467,585 in marketing. We did PPL, direct mail. We did PPL, direct mail. We did Facebook ads. We did SMS and cold call. Our biggest plan going into 2025 is to be able to come in here and do PPL. And if you want to, we use property leads. I tried out all the different PPL services. Property leads was our favorite. If you go down to the link below, you can actually get $250 credit just by using that link so that you could get your first 2 leads. I think we're buying leads for $125 in some markets. $250 is 2 leads that you can then go in and do that. On average, it should take you about 8 to 10 of those leads to be able to close them. We're going to use PPL. We're going to use PPC. We're going to use Facebook ads. And then we're going to bring in a little bit more of direct mail. Now, of course, we're going to spend on average anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 a month on each of these just for us. You could start off, if I were you, probably start off with PPL, get used to that inbound marketing. Direct mail is really great. It's going to have a longer cash conversion cycle because those get mailed out. People call in, different motivation. PPC and Facebook ad turned out to be really, really good for us. We really enjoyed that. We use DM4s here and then Lead Kitchen here. Let them know that we sent you because we really enjoyed those companies. If you are going to use SMS, I highly, highly suggest Smarter Contact. You can actually use the link down below. Smarter Contact was way better than Launch Control, the best one that we've used. And then if you guys are going to do cold calling, Enzo Dialer, by far the best. Let them know we sent you as well. That is going to be the best one that you could use, way better than Call Tools or any of those other ones. So that's what I would highly, highly suggest for you guys if you are going to do that. If you need help with any of this, of course, I've got a free community that you can join down below. It's free. I want you to learn as much as you possibly can. And then if you're interested, I have a free training that could walk you through how we do all of our foreclosures, how we've dialed that in, how we pitch these people, and then even how we do creative financing, because we have a ton of these. I think 8 or 9 of these are sub 3.5% sub twos. So we've got a ton of sub 2 properties in there. I also talk about how we pitch sub 2 in that free training. So make sure you guys check that down below. But this is our company and this is my journey in real estate over the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years, heading into year 5. Actually, no, we're on year 3.5 right now. So we're not even on year 4. We're about to be on year 4. And it has been a heck of a journey. Super excited about it. It's been wild. Super thankful for everybody and all of the help and all of the support that I've gotten along this road. Collective Genius has been massive for me in getting here. I really would not be here without the Collective Genius. And so if you need a mastermind, you're thinking about something to join, that is the one to do. Let them know I sent you because it will blow you away. But this is the journey of who we are and how we have gotten to where we are. And it has been crazy. I'm thankful for my partners like Darius and Carl and our team. I would not be here without them. Super, super thankful. It has been incredible. Thank you guys. I look forward to sharing a lot more of my journey. I look forward to sharing a lot more of the ups and downs as we do this. And then even as we continue on with the fun stuff, because that is what I'm super passionate about. I'm excited to talk more about funds, fund structures, raising capital, and even launching and managing funds. So thank you so much for this. I hope this has been helpful for you guys to be encouraged that you don't have to start up here. I absolutely tanked and then began building myself back up. And I'm super thankful for you all and who you are and the fact that you are here. I appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. To great success and greater impact. Peace.